So Pete Carroll steps down for the Seahawks. So I guess who's stepping up for him, huh? Right? Also, with that being said, he's an advisor. I don't think that Pete Carroll's going to last as an advisor. I honestly believe that Pete Carroll is probably just done with football altogether if he can't get a job. He needs to go back to USC and restore prominence and get rid of Lincoln Riley. But more or less, the Seattle Seahawks, this is now a new coaching job on the block with, of course, everything going on in the NFL with the Washington Commanders, the Atlanta Falcons, of course, the Carolina Panthers, the San Diego Chargers, and now add to the list at number 5, we have, of course, the Seattle Seahawks, which is a desirable job. You've got 2 legit skill player receivers, an aging Tyler Lockett, and of course, a hothead DK Metcalf. Then on top of that, you've got Zach Charbonnet running back, Kenneth Walker. They've invested very highly in that. About a C plus offensive line and a D plus defense as well. I mean, I'm sorry, not a defense plus defense. About a C minus defense because Jamal Adams is going to be gone. So therefore, that secondary base is probably going to be hurting for a while. I am really excited about who takes over this job because Pete Carroll's just his aura, right? Like for a 70 plus man, he really gets after it every day. He's the true athletic players coach. You know, he's always got his team involved. One of the first guys to me, he's the only great head coach I've ever seen in Seattle. So that's just in my lifetime of living. So, you know, for him to hit on most of his draft picks with the Richard Sherman, the Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, the Russell Wilson, and the trade with Marshawn Lynch to go through with that, it was a lot of things that made me say to myself, like, you know, hey, he did a great thing. The only stats that's going to be on his career is probably the play call with, you know, why not run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, which till this day, I like to break down that this is probably the greatest play call in history, and I'll actually like to do a video on that probably here in the offseason coming up. But I think it was one of the greatest play calls in history because everybody and their mama knew that Marshawn was going to get the ball. Why not pass in that moment? But it just didn't pan out the way it panned out. However, we'll talk about a positive note for Pete Carroll because that's how we're going to end it. Dude is a great coach, and his time in Seattle, his 14 years there, he did what he needed to do. Not mad at him at all. I think whoever steps in has got some huge shoes to fill dramatically. And it sucks because the honeymoon phase is really going to end quick because you got 2 polarizing forces, probably a third one coming up, which is, of course, San Fran and Los Angeles Rams. And then on top of that, you've got the great Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals because they're probably going to reconstruct their draft here. They're probably going to end up getting Marvin Harrison Jr. if Chicago screws up their draft, which I wouldn't be surprised. But you know, the division is getting way stronger. It's probably going to be the best division in football again, how it was prior to that in the early 2010s and pretty much throughout that whole decade. It was like that. I don't really know who's the coach for the Seahawks. I don't have a guy in mind because, to be real with you, most of the guys that I have in mind that would be great head coaches, like your Dan Quinn, your Steve Wilkes would be great. Stuff like that. I think that would be good fits for them, but I think it's just they're so out of touch that they have to bring their culture with them. You know, and I think Dan Quinn's more of a serious guy. Steve Wilkes is a straight defense. Both of them are defensive guys. Stuff like that. So it has to be a coach with some culture. Of course, Jim Harbaugh, his name is being thrown in a lot of hats. Why not this one? I think that the problem with that is that, you know, if Jim Harbaugh does go to Seattle, he's the perfect fit. He's a big name guy. Do they bump heads, you know, with Pete Carroll being still involved in the office? That whole debacle goes down. It makes me think about that. However, it's just me, but I think that the Seahawks have a really good team. It's crazy because the Russell Wilson trade was supposed to be a down year, ended up being a great year for them. And of course, this year they almost got to the playoffs, but Geno Smith obviously is banged up. I do believe that, well, there's so many things that they can do in directions they can go in this draft up and coming that will make them better than what they are, obviously, which, of course, every team is trying to do that in the NFL draft. But this team could really excel in a lot of areas. But that being said, you guys let me know in the comments what you think. Pete Carroll and Nick Saban, both today, 2 college great coaches. And to be honest with you, Pete Carroll's the first head coach that's ever done it where you win a national championship. And nope. Jimmy Johnson did. Jimmy Johnson won that. He's one of the coaches. in there to do that. With that being said, man, hey, as always, like, comment, of course, subscribe. Yeah, that's it. We done. Peace out.